Okay, so now we're going to go over how to hatch an object or fill an area with hatch. And so you have a few different options when it comes to hatch. So I'm going to type in H spacebar. And now you see I don't have a pick box right now. So down below it says pick internal point. I have another option. I can do select objects. So right now I'm in pick internal points. Say I want to hatch this entire area right in here. So I'm just going to click once. It's going to select that area for me. That looks good. If I wanted to hatch more, I can select more objects, right? And then I can hit enter. And now when I click this, that is my hatch, okay? Now, depending on what I want that to look like, I can choose what layer it's on by clicking the drop down and choosing what layer, right? I can choose, whatever. I'll put it on 0 right now. And then I can choose this drop down, see which pattern I want it to be. I want it to be brick. Okay, that looks pretty good, but if I wanted it to be bigger or smaller, I would adjust the scale right here, and I can either type in a number, I can click up and down, or I can click right in here and use my scroll wheel, which is my favorite way. And then I can see how dense or how big I want the scale on that pattern to be. Okay. You can also same thing as polylines. These pick boxes have different objects. So depending on if you're on an end point or at the midpoint of a border of the hatch, you can choose to move the hatch. You can choose to add a vertex, right? You can convert a segment to an arc in case you want to change the border. But I warn you, as soon as you start moving those pick points around, when your hatch was first created, odds are it was associative. Now, that depends on how you created it, all right? We have our hatch selected right here. Oh, sorry. And then I can click associative up top in the middle of the hatch command, right? And then if I create my hatch and I make it associative, now what that means is the hatch is linked to the boundaries around it. So I have a polyline around this hatch. And if I were to see, right now I have the polyline selected, not the hatch. Okay, this is what the hatch looks like when it's selected. And when it's associative, it doesn't have these pick points on the border, right? If I were to turn the association off, then we have those pick points. But having an associated hatch can be useful because if you have a polyline around it or whatever geometry is bordering this hatch, you can move the geometry and the hatch will stay linked to it. Okay, I'm manipulating the polyline and the hatch is staying linked to that geometry. This can be useful for keeping things in order, or you can make it non-associative and manipulate the hatch directly. There's also different ways of hatching an object. If a certain area is giving you trouble and you can't necessarily pick these individual boxes, or if it's taking too long and loading, or like this is ridiculous. I wouldn't want to hatch each one of these individuals like this. I would want to hatch the whole area at once. And so one way to do that would be to draw a polyline around the entire area. Okay, so we'll just really quickly draw a polyline. I'm going to close it. Okay, so now we have this polyline here. Now if I run the hatch command and I type S for select objects, enter, now I have a pick box and I can pick that polyline that I just drew and it will fill that shape in with hatch. I can also use this for multiple polylines. If I have multiple areas that I know I want to hatch, sometimes it can be much faster than picking the individual boxes. Okay. Sometimes when you're hatching an area with the pick point command, you'll get an error closed boundary cannot be determined, right? And you see this little red circle that showed up? That's always going to stay there. No matter if you zoom in or out, it's going to stay the same size because it's circling a little gap in the shape. And sometimes you can get several of these red circles. So that'll, if you're lucky, AutoCAD will tell you the problem, but sometimes you just can't hatch an object and you'll just need to wrap a new polyline around it or something. So now you can actually hatch inside of there, no problem. If you can't get rid of those circles, you just have to throw a regen, right? So these circles aren't going to go away. You have to type in REA, regen all, and it'll get rid of those circles for you. All right.